Welcome back to the Vegans Who Live podcast. We are your favorite host. I am Brooke Sellers, otherwise known as Miss Meatless Muscle, and I am here with my co-host, John Thomas, the bodybuilding vegan. What is up, John?
What's up, dude? Um, it's a great day to be alive. Yeah, we're going to talk about the 7 things we wish we knew or wish we did before starting our own businesses or along the way. So if you are looking to start a business or just want some insight as to what it's like to run your own business, I think this is going to be a super valuable episode. Comes kind of in line with our next Vegans Who Live coaching academy, where we actually teach people how to start as a coach. Now, I think this episode will apply to pretty much any business, at least a self-run business, whereas that's a bit more specific for vegan coaches. But I mean, I've ran other businesses prior to this one too, so I have a little bit of a varied background. What did you do
Yeah.
before? I mean, I kind of know the answer, but what did you do before you started coaching?
So before I started coaching, I worked at a bank. I worked at Synovus Bank, and I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable there, and that's kind of why I started my business, mostly just because I wanted something fun to do. Like I wanted an outlet to talk about veganism and fitness and do what I was passionate about. And I was able to be pretty successful initially, and I was able to quit my job. But yeah, I was working at a bank, and prior to that, I was a trainer. I worked at a gym. It was a very small family owned gym called Rapid Results Personal Training. And all we did there was personal training. There were no monthly memberships, which was kind of cool. But it was terrible. It was my boss was just absolutely nuts. She was very controlling and pretty much a narcissist. And I hardly got paid anything. I mean, there would be times where she wouldn't pay me and would all make up all these excuses and then would basically ask for a rain check, and it was awful. So I ended up leaving because that was me out of college. I was like, I'm gonna live my passion, and my parents are like, oh my god, like you just got a bachelor's degree and you're about to go work at a gym. But
What was your
um
degree in?
psychology.
Okay, okay.
I majored in psychology. I minored in statistics. I was going to go to grad school to become a psychiatrist, but obviously that didn't happen. And I'm really glad that it didn't because I don't think I would be a very good psychiatrist. And I feel like, I don't know. I like now, knowing what I know, I don't, that job does not sound appealing to me whatsoever.
I try to tell kids like it's gonna be okay. You don't have to have all this figured out in high school or college. Like you'll probably change your career a few times before you get to where you want to be. I went like back and forth. I flip flopped in high school. I joined the Academy of Finance, and then I quickly dropped out of that because I'm like, I'm gonna become a cop. I don't need to go to this. So I went to the police academy. Ended up working at a jail. First day there, I was like, this is not for me. I want out. I want out. I want to do like environmental engineering. And then I realized I sucked at chemistry because I hadn't done it in years. And I was like, okay, what can I do instead? Business. So I'll go back to school for business because I wanted to work in finance, which is funny because originally in high school I thought I wanted to do finance, but I had to find out the hard way that I did not want to be a cop. Ended up working in finance, got laid off, started working for a small business, kind of in the tech sector, and that was around the time that I took my first client for coaching, and still never thought it would amount to much. I thought coaching would just like pay for my coach. That was my goal, was to get 3 clients and charge them a third of what my coach was charging me so that I could pay for my own hobby. Then I met you not too much longer after that, and I realized, oh, you can actually make money being a coach. People do this full time. So yeah, roundabout way of saying I'm very glad I got here. And I think I had to go through those stumbling blocks first to find out what I didn't want to do. So you were doing personal training kind of on the side, thinking you were going to go back to get your master's. That was like the game plan.
Yeah, so at the time, that was kind of my plan. I was like, yeah, like I'll just work at this bank because my mom works in finance, and she has a great job. She does like huge loans for huge corporations like Taco Bell, Marie Callender's. Like she works with these huge corporations. She has an amazing job. So she got me into finance. And I was like, okay, I'll just try this and, maybe go back to school. Um, and so, yeah, I started taking on some clients here and there. And that's when I met my business coach, my first business coach, Julian Hero. A lot of you guys probably know him as the Jack Vegan. Um, he DM'd me on Instagram and he just asked me like, are you a vegan coach? And I said, I'm kind of working on it. Like, I wouldn't say I'm like an online vegan coach yet, but I work with a couple of my friends and help them out with their goals. And he was like, "Well, why not? Like, why aren't you doing this? Like, you have an awesome page, you have an amazing physique. Um, what's holding you back?" And it was funny at the time. I'm like, well, I don't have like a professional camera, I don't have this, I don't have that, like all this like stupid stuff that I thought I needed to, get started with my coaching. And he's like, you don't need any of that. You don't need any of that. He's like, you have the skill set, you have the physique, you have great content, like you have what you need to get started. So we got on a call, and I was kind of skeptical about it. Like, I don't know. I feel like that was when the online coaching world kind of just got started and people were finally using social media to monetize things.
This was
And
like 2021.
this was like this was 2020. This was before,
Oh,
right before the pandemic. Right before the pandemic.
okay.
And so then he introduced me to his business group, and I saw all these other people who weren't vegan. And he had this one client who, she wasn't vegan, but she was like 50 years old. She was absolutely killing it. She was making like 10 grand a month. And like at that time, that sounded like fucking crazy to me, like making 10 grand a month, because I was like making nothing, hardly anything. Um, and he's like, look, she's doing it. All of these people are doing it, but you have an even more competitive edge. Like, you're young, you're good looking, is what he said. Like you have a great physique. You have the best physique in this group. You're vegan, you have a great niche. He's like, Brooke, like you could do this. Like, if you're not doing this, like you're missing out on your potential. Like he saw it in me before I saw it in myself. Like he knew exactly what I was capable of doing. I just didn't know myself. But then once I saw other people doing it, I'm like, you know what? He's right. Like I could do this. I think I could do this. So I hired him, and quickly with his course, I started bringing on clients and started making more money than I was making at my job. And I started getting trouble at my job because I was on my phone all the time, because I would, check on my clients, respond to emails, like update a program, write a meal plan while I was at work. And I knew I shouldn't have been, but you know, I I was making more money doing this and I liked what I was doing. So I did it. And, eventually my boss and my supervisor, they both sat me down and they had this talk with me about being on my phone, or like, pulling up personal things on my computer when I should be working. And I went home and I really thought about it. And I talked to my mom and I was like, I'm really thinking about putting my 2 weeks in. And my mom was like, I was shocked, but my mom was like, I think you should do it. I could not believe that my mom supported me. And with my mom supporting me like that, I was like, all right, I'm doing it.
Hell
So
yeah.
I went in and I put my 2 weeks in, because I'm like, shit, like I'm making more money doing this than I am in my job. Like, imagine if I put 40 hours into my business, how much money I would be making and how much more successful I would be. So it was a big risk. But it worked, it paid off. So yeah, that's how I'm here.
That's awesome. That's cool to like think about it in the same timeline, because it's funny you mentioned like, I don't know exactly the scope of your job, but working on your business while you're at work. I worked at J.C. Penney. That was my corporate job out of college. I graduated from the University of Florida. I was like, I want to go do finance. I got a corporate finance job there in Texas. And then I realized like we're here 8, 9 hours a day and like nobody's working. I'd walk around at JCPenney and every other screen would be somebody shopping on Amazon. I was like, this is not good. Like we're supporting other businesses, putting ourselves out of business and not working. And so like I'd get done with all my work in like an hour or two and I'd kind of just try and find ways to make myself useful. And there wasn't much to do. So that's when I started to write my first cookbook. I was like, there's like I can go shop on Amazon or I can go write my own dang cookbook. So that's when I started doing that. Fast forward to it was like February that I put in my 2 weeks because I got a job back in my hometown to move back when I was dating my now ex fiance. Moved back, was there for like 2 weeks, and COVID hit, and I got laid off. So that's when I started working with my old business partner. He wasn't the business partner at the time, but I got basically a part-time job. Ended up working and making myself useful enough to make that into a full-time job. And then I worked there for like almost a year before I started taking on clients. And then like somewhere in that range of it had been like 2022, I met with you around like June or something, and I saw wow, like kind of like the same story you had like oh I could actually do this. This could be like a full time thing. And by that August of 2022, my contract was up for renewal, and I was making more money by that last month coaching than I was at my full time job. And I was like, okay, I think same as you. Like this is scary, but I'm ready to take the plunge and see like what if I did this full time? What if I didn't have to work a 9 to 5 and then coach at night? So cool to kind of see how those lined up timeline wise, but and how
Yeah.
much you did for me. And I didn't hire Julian, you just kind of showed me the way. So and now here we are still hanging out. But okay, cool. I feel like we've given a really good backstory as far as like how we kind of winded up in this. And then I wanted us to take this episode. It's funny that this is episode 7 of season 5, and we're going to cover 7 things that we learned along the way or wish we knew at the beginning. 7 things that I feel like would jumpstart anybody looking to get into business. So the first one is getting help, and that's very vague and broad, but like you no matter what business you specialize in, if you cook food, if you're an online coach, if you're a graphic designer, you're not going to be an expert in everything. So at least like in our journey, I can speak for us. We've kind of outsourced some of the financial decision making. We have a financial advisor. We use the same guy. I'll plug him away. Johans Harrison. He's been great. He helped me like legitimize my business and learn how to write things off as business expenses, things that I just had no idea before starting a business. Um, and then at least on my own journey, if I could start over again, I probably would have tried to, even if I had to go into debt, find a business partner, find somebody that's like vested in working along this similar mission with me. Because as I'm sure you feel this, bro, it's just a lot. It's a lot to run your own business all by yourself and have everything fall on you. Um, at least that's what I've experienced.
Yeah, definitely. That was something I did rather quickly with my business. I probably hired Johans a month or 2 months into starting my business, because I just knew going into it, I'm like, "All right, there's a lot of stuff that I don't understand here, like how to do taxes, what I can write off on my taxes, how to get this LLC set up." Um, yeah, like you said, just kind of like legitimizing your business and then making sure you're doing it in the right way, a legal way. And I was like, all right, I don't have time to learn this. Let me just hire someone to do this for me. And I'm so glad that I did because there's just so many things that I don't have to worry about, um, because they take care of it for me. And that's the thing I feel like you have to realize when you're a business owner, you have to know your strengths and your weaknesses, and that's something that I knew. Like, I know how to train, I know how to eat right, I know how to teach people how to get in shape. I know how to do that. I don't know how to financially handle a business. I don't know the ins and out of the taxes, the legalities of owning an LLC. I didn't know any of that. And so that was a weakness of mine. Why not just outsource it? You know, it's one less thing that you have to worry about. I can't imagine where I would be if I had been trying to do all of that on my own because it's so time consuming. I'm sure I would have made a ton of mistakes, probably had more issues with the IRS that I've already had. So yeah, I feel like you need to know your weaknesses. And for some people, that could be content creation, that could
Yeah,
be website development. So I'm very good at content creation, so I know a lot of times I'll get these DMs from people or people who want, me to hire them to do content creation. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm really good at that. And I like the content creation. I like that part of my job. So that's one thing that I'm going to continue doing. But for some people, that might be the hardest part. You may know how to train someone and get really good results, but your content sucks. Then it would probably be good to outsource somebody. But I think knowing your weaknesses and um, being able to like admit to them and then outsource them is an important part of expediting your business, scaling your business, and avoiding a lot of mistakes and pitfalls.
100%. Yeah, I think you hit on a big part. Like if your business isn't scalable, then you've kind of like put a ceiling on yourself. Now, like one-on-one coaching is somewhat scalable to an extent. I think you and I have kind of found out basically where that ceiling might be with clients. So then it's like, well, what can you do to further scale your business? You could offer a one-off item like your cookbook that just came out. You guys can go check that out. It's on Brooke's page. We do the Vegans Who Lift Academy. That's another way where it's like, okay, I don't have time to handle all of these people one by one by one, but if we can get 10 people in a room for an hour, that's almost like 10 hours of work done in 1 hour. And then for me, I like editing YouTube videos. I like making content. I actually ran the YouTube page for that business partner when I helped him run his business. I just don't have time for it. And like, if I'm just going to make up numbers here, let's say on average, coaching a client, I make $50 an hour. If I pay an editor 25 an hour, I can work 1 hour and get 2 hours of work done. It's like whatever way you can use. And like you said, like do what you're good at, and then outsource the rest. And I think that's when you like truly kind of have your business off the ground is when you're starting to outsource more and more things because it's just showing that like it's bigger than just you. And that's been like obviously a struggle at times, but also something that's been really fun for me is to grow my team. So yeah, I definitely lesson number one: learn how to scale, outsource, build your team. Because if you're trying to grow a business big enough and long enough, I don't think you can do it by yourself. At least me personally. I guess it depends on what field you're in, but maybe not the biggest or best business you could have. Could you do it by yourself?
Yeah.
Um,
And I just wanted to add, because I think it would be good to like add in people's excuses for these things. So I feel like, okay, what are the biggest excuses? I think the two biggest excuses with outsourcing things, maybe one, you don't know anybody, you don't know where to find anybody. There's lots of good resources, Fiverr, Upwork, people in your community, like you found Alex, he's just another vegan. He went through our academy, but there's no reason somebody couldn't find someone similar. Like if you know a college kid who, like if you're a fitness coach and you go to the gym and there's a college kid there who needs a job, like you can, maybe hire that person. I feel like there's so many different ways that you can find people now.
Literally, we were talking in the last episode about a sauna experience. I'm in the sauna, and there's a kid next to me saying he's applied to like 15 different barista jobs, but at the end of the day, he just wants to be a content creator and editor, and he already edits for his parents, like on the side for their church. And now I brought him on 20 hours a week, like, and he makes really good quality videos. But it's literally what you said, like a college student looking for work. I did not find him online. I literally found him sitting in a sauna. So it's like you can, if you're looking for it, you can find it, and you can find help and find ways to scale out that way.
Yeah. And then the other excuse I think would be finances and like I tell anybody who wants to grow their business, I mean, you got to spend money to make money, honestly. Like that's just how it is now.
That was for me like a very scary part of business because like being a coach, if you're only doing organic growth and only making your own posts on Instagram, technically the only thing you're spending is your time. And at least for me, time is the only thing that no matter how much money I got in the world, I can't get back. And so realizing I can make a post or I could spend $100 on ads. Which one is going to get me a client faster? Probably the $100 on ads. So as long as I'm charging enough for my clients and making that money back, it actually makes money to spend that money. It's something that's still a little bit scary because like if the ads don't go well, you've just lost $100. But like you said, you got to spend money to make money. I think, yeah, I think if I were to start this all over again, I would have taken like a $10,000 loan out and like forced myself to be in the hole to grow. Not
Yeah.
necessarily saying everybody else should do that, but if you feel like you really have a good enough idea and you'll work hard enough, I think I would have gotten somewhere faster had I taken that approach than just the I'm going to slowly build it all by myself. Um, which
Yeah.
kind of leads into um, our second. What are these lessons? Things we wish we knew. I personally wish I knew how to price myself. I mean, I'll just tell the numbers. My first client, I believe I charged her $50 for a month of coaching for a meal plan, training plan, weekly check-ins, weekly phone calls.
That's a
That was
steal.
that was a steal. Next client, I think I upped it to 75. Like 4 clients later, I was like, I'll try 100, and somebody said yes, and I was like, oh my god. But then I believe I talked to you, and you're like in the 300 to 400 a month range. I was like, nobody would pay that, but I didn't realize that actually that's like a pretty reasonable rate for like the kind of coach that most people are looking for. Somebody that's going to be giving them a lot of attention, a lot of value. It's worth that much money to people. Um, so yeah, I think pricing whatever business you're in, believing in yourself enough to price yourself appropriately. Where did you get it from? Was that from Julian that you figured out kind of where to price yourself at, or did you base it on other coaches? How did you figure it out for you?
Yeah, I mean, once again, I hired a coach from the get-go. So that was really helpful for me. I, really expedited my success because of that. And yeah, so he helped me with my pricing. I mean, he felt like so my original pricing, I was charging like 150 a month and he wanted me to charge like 500 a month. But at the time I just felt like I needed to get some confidence. I needed to close a few deals and get a couple of yeses before I could ask for more. And once I got like I think probably 3 clients, I started feeling pretty good. Like, okay, like I got this. And I bought my prices up and I would just continue increasing the price by like $50 as I started to get more clients and feel more confident. And yeah, I feel like, he helped me figure out what was a competitive price, what was worth my time. And, the other thing is because a lot of people, um, and especially we see this in our academy, and I get it because I've been there. People are a little bit hesitant to ask for a lot of money up front. And I get it because it's like, do I may not have a lot of results yet. I may not have a big roster. I don't have a lot of credibility in this space. But something all of my business coaches have taught me, and me and you both know this, like the more money somebody pays, the better results they're going to get. And it's just a fact. And I've experimented with this over the past 5 years that I've been doing this. And really all of my low ticket clients, um, yeah, they're typically not good clients. And that's why I totally just did away with nutrition only packages. I used to offer nutrition only and I stopped offering it because the clients people just don't people do not take it seriously. The least amount of money that people paid, like the results were directly proportional to what they were paying. So
I mean,
like
yeah.
yeah, if you're listening to this and you're like scared to increase your prices, just know that the higher your prices are, the better clients you're going to get and the better results you're going to get. Because I think it's Alex Nearest, he said on a call the other day, money is also an exchange of energy. and people go where their money goes. So
Yep.
yeah, I think that's important to consider with pricing.
100%. I mean, you give something out for free, people don't value it. Um, if in my own experience, almost everybody I've given, not everybody, but proportionately, if there was like a statistic, like a regression line or something of the ratio of price or discount offered to the quality of the client, they're like inversely proportional. The bigger discounts I've given people to try and help them out, the worst clients they've been. So it's definitely been the people that don't complain or don't ask for a discount typically show up better. And I'll take everybody that applies into consideration, like where they're at. But yeah, we like we were talking about on another episode, like Crunch is super cheap, so everybody can afford it. So most of the people that go don't really care. And back to even like the nutrition coaching, like I feel like from a fundamental standpoint, like nutrition is somewhat easy. I mean, it's like either you ate the 40 grams of oats or you didn't. So it's pretty easy to do that or to not. Whereas like the training side, like did you just do a 5 rep max with the most weight you possibly like that's hard. Like training is hard, but eating is hard for some people to stick to, but like it's not actually hard to like put food in your mouth, chew and swallow at appropriate times at the appropriate amount. Now, the discipline related to not going off your plan, yes, but yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is like training is where most people really need to work harder, in my experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, price yourself accordingly.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna lean on Corinne Sutton, natural vegan bodybuilder that we've had on here. He gave me some really good advice when I was starting out. He said if you're tracking your sales calls and if 50% or more of people are saying yes, then you need to raise your rates. So if more than half the people are just accepting your price without a complaint or without an objection, raise your rates. Which I think is good advice. Like if I probably about time for me to raise my rates. The last 4 people I've signed just signed up immediately, no complaints. They're like, let's do it. So probably a good indicator that I need to be charging more for what I'm offering. Yeah. So second thing, make sure you guys price yourselves appropriately, whatever field you're in. And I would just say for new coaches or new business owners, like don't be afraid to start high. And then if somebody legitimately can't afford it and you want to work with them, you can always work down. But it's very hard to be like, I charge 200 a month. And they're like, let's do it. I'm like, haha, just kidding. I charge 400 a month. They're like, you just said two. They'll never go the other way. So, and for me at least, I don't ever raise rates on existing clients. I still have some clients that are locked in at relatively low rates because they've been with me for 2 years. It's kind of my thank you to supporting me for when I started. Um,
Yeah,
all right.
same.
Third thing, stole this one directly from Brooke. Contracts, at least as far as coaching is concerned. There's a whole number of reasons to get a contract, and Brooke, since you convinced me to do it, I'll let you explain them.
Yeah, this is my biggest, like when me and John were brainstorming this episode, this was the first thing that came to mind. Was having a contract in place. And this is something that I had to learn my lesson so many times before I finally had an ironclad contract and I made sure that people wouldn't screw me over. Because people will absolutely screw you over in the fitness industry. You can put in so much work for somebody for 5 months and they don't do one thing, they don't do one workout, they don't track one food. And then at the end of their 5 months, they want a refund. And the only way that you can protect yourself is to get them to sign a contract. And so that's really, really important. So people don't absolutely screw you over, or even just decide like a weekend, like, hey, I made this commitment, but I decided I want to work with this other coach instead. So I want my money back. I mean, like people, I've heard the craziest things. I've had people lie to me about situations. Like I've had people tell me, they lost their job and they're broke. And then I see them on Instagram and they're going to Disney World and Bali and Italy. And I'm like, you didn't lose your job and you're not broke. Like, are you kidding me? So you just have to you have to protect yourself because and I'm one of those people and I'm like that in relationships too. Like I'm like overly trusting. I give people the benefit of the doubt. I always want to see the good in people, but people will do anything to get that money back. So, yeah, having a contract in place, it will protect you in those situations so that if you put in a lot of work into someone, you get paid for that. You get paid for that. Like that's the thing is people don't realize they're not paying you for their results. They're paying you for your work and your time and your knowledge and your expertise. So, like, it's not my fault that you got to the end of your 5 months and you never checked in, you never asked me any questions, so you didn't get any results. I still messaged you, I still updated your workouts, I still updated your meal plans. So why would I not get paid for that? That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, yeah, I could go on about that forever. But yeah, it's important to have a contract and day one, make people sign contracts.
Brooke told me that very early on, and I still learned my lesson the hard way. I can tell we've hit a little bit of a sore point with you. Uh, I've had it where like prior to the contract, I got paid on a Friday night, and I stayed up late, knocked out the whole plan, started sending it over Saturday morning, and then they're like, "Hey, just decided that I actually don't want to work with you, so I'm gonna ask for a refund." And it's like, in that case, I was like, no, I've already put in the work, but then I had no contractual obligation for them to stay with me, so they did charge a refund back. And that was when I was like, okay, Brooke's right. I finally learned my lesson the hard way. I'm gonna do this. And I think too, like psychologically, it just adds another barrier of entry to somebody working with you. Almost like, before people work with me, I make them send me photos, I make them fill out my application, they have to pay, they have to sign the contract. If somebody's willing to jump through all those hoops to get started with you, they're probably ready to work. But if they're like, I don't really want to sign a contract, I don't really want to send you photos, I don't know if I want to pay the full price, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to work with you. So, um, I think even it just, even if I'm not going to take somebody to court, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but probably not going to take somebody to court over a payment. But it does, one, it gives me the right to do that if I want to, but two, it narrows the playing field down to people that actually really want to work with you. So for all those reasons, I highly recommend it. It's not that hard. It is something we teach in the academy, because I didn't know how to do it until Brooke showed me. But um, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to figure out. You don't have to be a lawyer to figure that one out.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along. I wrote this one, learning how to actually be a coach. Now, this is, I guess, for coaches. But you know what? I think this does apply to other jobs too. It's kind of like a tattoo artist. If you go into a tattoo artist and you're like, I want this flower, and they're like, well, you probably shouldn't do that color. You probably should face it this direction. You should probably realize if we put it there, like, I don't know, like on your hand in a certain place, like it's going to get rubbed a lot and part of it will start to fade. Like you're going to a tattoo artist because they know what the heck they're doing. I hope. So besides asking for vegan ink, you should ask for feedback and let the expert that's done this thousands of times tell you the best way to do it. I feel the same for coaching. When I got started though, somebody would come to me, they'd say they want to lose 20 pounds, and I'd write their meal plan, and they'd be like, well, I still want to eat Oreos with this meal, and with this meal, I don't really want to try that. And then I'd be like, okay, I'll be your friend. We'll just change it back to whatever you want. And by the end of the week, we had worked them right back to doing exactly all the things they were doing before they started with me. And I realized the coach, have been hoodwinked into just writing them a plan that was almost basically like they're like, oh, I've never done that exercise before. I don't know if I want to try it. Oh, well, normally I do 12 reps. I don't know if I want to try 8. And it's like, I was so scared about losing the payment or upsetting somebody or disappointing somebody that I'd let them write their own programs basically. And so I was not being a very good coach. I wasn't fully confident. I assume probably a tattoo artist on their first tattoo was like, yeah, I'll give you whatever you want, however you want it, even if it's not the best. So that's what I put for number 4, like learning how to coach. What about you? So you had a bit more. You had Julian to kind of give you some of the framework for coaching. Did you experience that initial like self doubt or like people pleasing when you first started taking on clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely have fallen victim to that. I remember very clearly I had this one client who was um very, very adamant about certain things in her programming. So I usually give people a step goal, and she didn't want to have a step goal. So I forgot what the excuse was. Something, it stresses me out, it gives me anxiety. That's what people always say. So I'm like, okay, we won't do step goal then. Just forget about it. Just try to get some daily movement in. She didn't want to track her food because tracking her food gave her anxiety and stressed her out. It's like any sort of goal I gave her, it stressed her out and it gave her anxiety. And me, trying to be like, yeah, people pleasing. And also, I don't know, I do feel like when people throw out mental health as an excuse, you kind of have to be careful, like how you
Yeah.
approach the situation, because then people will attack you for promoting like disordered eating or like whatever. So you have to be very careful. So I accommodated her in all the ways that she wanted, and she had a very, flexible program. It was more than what I usually give people. She didn't want to track her food, so I just had her follow the meal plan. But again, a month goes by and she's not tracking her steps. She didn't want to do that. She didn't want to track her water. She didn't want to track her food. And I get this long message about how she was absolutely pissed off because she had not seen any results in a month. And I'm like, well, you don't track your food. You don't track your steps. You don't track your water. I have no data. I'm just trusting what you tell me. So, yeah, I'm not surprised you don't have any results. And she quit, and I probably would have fired her anyways because she had a lot of attitude with me, and she was borderline disrespectful. But again, that's where people pleasing totally bit me in the ass because I was trying to accommodate her anxiety and her stress around, having these goals. But then she didn't get any results. And then she was absolutely pissed off that she had spent this money and a month had gone by and she had nothing to show for it. And I'm like, well, duh, could have told you that when you didn't want to track anything, but you didn't want to listen to me. So yeah, but now I'm very upfront with people. And I mean, I had two people last week complain that they weren't seeing results. And both of these people did not want to track their food. Neither of them wanted to track their food. All they wanted to do was work out. So I was very honest and I said, well, these results are to be expected because you're only doing about 30% of your plan. So you're only going to get about 30% of the results. And right now, you're focusing on the thing that takes the longest, building muscle. You're not doing anything to lose fat. You're not going to lose fat by going to the gym. You're not. That's why there's more people in the gym that you don't want to look like than want to look like because they're not tracking their food. They're not doing anything with their food. So, it is what it is. And I know what works. I've been doing this long enough. And if people don't want to do it, they can figure out another way to do it. But I definitely have learned my lessons with trying to please people, accommodate people. They don't get results, and then they're going to be mad at you in the end. So I just prefer not to deal with it, honestly.
Yeah, you speak as someone who's been coaching for a few years.
Yeah.
It's hard because it's like, at least for me, like I want to help people get to their goals, and of course, like I don't want to make it harder than it needs to be. I think it's also like trying to meet people where they're at. Like some people are willing to track food. I just had another person sign up. They want to lose 20 pounds, and he's like, I really don't want to track anything though. I just want to eat healthy, and I'm like, I can write you a meal plan that's healthy. Maybe you can track it for a week to kind of have an idea of how much you're eating, but like I'll try it if you want to, but I can't promise anything. I'd almost rather, you know, I mean, I will try it with him, but like I almost wish he would just try my way for 1 week and try something new and see if it works or not. I know for me at least, when I hired my first coach and he's like, "This is what you're gonna eat. Here's your meal plan." I was like, "But this isn't what I normally eat." And it was a big mind jump for me to get from where I was to actually trying his way. But after a week, I was like, "Oh, this is just food. It's not that big of a deal." But for me, it was really tough. So I kind of get where people are coming from, but also I trusted my coach enough when I hired him to do what he told me to do, and it worked. And I found TVP and seitan. Like, had I not hired John Izzy back in the day, I would not have ever eaten TVP or seitan. I don't know how I got this far in the game without doing it, but like until 2020, I had never tried those foods.
And it makes sense too. Like I try to tell people, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get the same results. So don't hire me and spend money to do the same thing that you've always done. Like
Yeah.
it's so frustrating, but yeah, it's like you said, this is just part of coaching for many, many years. You get a lot of people who want change, they want your guidance, but they're not really willing to do something new and spend a few minutes being uncomfortable trying to figure out my fitness pal or meal prepping or whatever it is.
You kind of see it like some in kids, but also in adults where you're like, oh, you want to try this food? No, I've never had that before. I don't want to try it. It's like worst case scenario. Like if it
You don't
actually
like it.
tastes like shit, you just spit it out. Not that big of a deal, bro. But like people will be like, I'm not gonna try that. I'm like, I've offered people like green bites. I'm like, nah, it's vegan. Nah, not even gonna try it. I'm like, you don't know what you're missing. But okay. Um, yeah. Number 5. This applies to both of us, is be present on multiple social media platforms. So back when I met you, it was literally just Facebook and Instagram for me. That was it. And but like 99% on Instagram. I barely was on Facebook. So when did you come to that realization?
Mm, maybe like 2 years ago. 2 years ago. I mean, I've been doing this 5 years, so I would say like 2 years
Mhm.
ago. Instagram just did really well for me in the beginning.
Mhm.
And I wish I had gotten on the TikTok train a lot sooner because man, I go back and I look at my first couple TikTok videos and like holy shit, they did so good. I just didn't like TikTok.
Yeah.
So I didn't show up on there as much or engage with people as much, but um yeah, I missed that train for sure because now it's highly competitive. So if you're trying to get into TikTok now, it's much more difficult. But um, yeah, I just was like, yeah, I really should be doing more on other platforms because there's more people out there who, don't use Instagram or don't use Facebook or don't use YouTube, but they use something else. Um, and when I started getting clients from other platforms, that's when I was like, okay, this is really important. Like, this is important to put your content out there. So now I'm doing that. And, we talk about this in our business academy too. We always tell people don't put all your just eggs in, one
Mhm.
basket um because I mean, and look at what's happened to me and you. We've had our accounts shut down wrongly, before for no good
Mhm.
reason. It just whatever AI bot was going through and, you know, shutting down accounts that day decided to pick us. And,
Yeah.
you never know. And some people get it back, some people never get it back and they start from zero. So, for a lot of reasons, it's important to have a presence everywhere and also like just Google search. Like if I Google search myself, like tons of shit comes up, like YouTube, LinkedIn, Reddit, Pinterest, Instagram. So like my shit is everywhere. So like that is what's really important about like getting your content on all of the platforms because you're missing out on leads, you're missing out on money, you're missing out on maybe sponsorships. Like I think there's like also with companies, like there's companies who do better on TikTok than they do on Instagram. So there's just like so many reasons you should be on multiple platforms. And continue and you can repurpose content. Like I know
Yep.
that's our academy students, we've had a couple academy students, how do you have time to do all this? It's not that we have more time, it's we just take the same reel and we post it everywhere else.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Yeah. I agree with everything Brooke has said. To add on to that, like actionable items, if I was starting over right now, if I was starting a new business, I would still use Instagram. it would be less, I asked you the timeline on when you realized this. The same for me. About 2 years ago, things started to slow down on Instagram, whereas at first they were kind of like light speed. So Instagram for me is less right now about like audience building and more for networking. I mean, I met Brooke on there. I met Sean on Facebook, and we met kind of in person, but also we talk on Instagram. Really, all of my best friends I've pretty much met through Instagram. All I think all of my sponsors have been found through Instagram. So like for me at least, Instagram is a really, really solid networking tool. If I want to talk to somebody, I don't try to find their phone number. I try to find their Instagram and DM them. Like that's at least for me how I start things. So I would recommend that for other people. Next, I'm still not on TikTok. Maybe I should be. I just don't have the knowledge behind it, but I do recommend if you feel like you can handle it, get on TikTok. Big one for me now is YouTube because of the searchability. I send a lot of my training videos to clients from YouTube. Like I'll be able to actually search my channel, send them my video of me doing form, like a form exercise. But also, if a company wants to search, or if you want to be searchable with a company, put them in your title. Like it's to me, YouTube's like a library that's accessible, whereas Instagram is kind of like the newspaper. Like nobody's gonna go read your newspaper from 3 weeks ago, but at the library, a book written 3 weeks ago or 3 years ago is still valuable. So I built up YouTube. That would be a big one for me. Email marketing. If you have a website or any way to collect emails, that's the one that you have true control over. Instagram could get shut down, YouTube could get shut down or demonetized, but if you have emails or phone numbers, like that's something that you can always use to reach out to your people. Then I had one more. Oh, Reddit. So Reddit is kind of like for me, it's like the funnel because you can go post on a subreddit. And if you're smart about it, I'm not gonna give all the secrets away, but if you're smart about it, it can be a funnel to whatever else you're trying to grow. I've grown a lot of my YouTube. I got like 250 subscribers in one day, thanks to a really good Reddit post. Like that's I don't even know how much money that's like worth, but it's worth a lot of money. And so Reddit is a great way to funnel people. Like I don't feel like I'm gonna build this giant big Reddit account that gets me sponsors, but it will help grow my other outlets. So all of those are really good ways to utilize all the different platforms, at least in my experience so far.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. I feel like let's get through the last two. Let's finish this one up. Number 6, sponsors and then kind of like negotiating in general. Um, I did not realize that people got paid sponsorships for the longest time. I did not realize that like you could get paid by a company to make content. It blew my mind. Um, and it's been a source of income, like kind of like a side hustle for me, but also been a way that I've built working relationships with companies that have helped grow my image. So, do you remember your first sponsor?
My first sponsor, I think my first sponsor was Veg. Like real
Oh,
sponsor, like they paid
yeah.
me. Yeah, because I had people reach out to me to be an affiliate, and
Mm,
forever I thought that was so cool to be an affiliate. And then I realized like, no, sponsorships is where it's at. That's where you need to be. Um, and yeah, so and you get to a place, and I'm at a place now, like I had this I mean, BC Burgers, that's who it was. So they reached out to me and I really liked the product, but they weren't able to pay me. They were only willing to send me some products for me to post. And it's like, I'm like you, I have so many freaking products and people to post for that I'm sorry. Like, I don't have any room on my page if you cannot pay me. Like, it's real estate at this point. Each post
mhm.
is a lot that you need to
Re-
pay for.
Real estate, a play on words.
Ha! That's
Real.
good, that's awesome. We need to think of something with that. But, yeah, so it's like, and some people don't have it in their budget, and that's okay, but there are some people who do, like, Chris Power Pretzels. I was doing a few posts for them that weren't paid because I loved the product so much, and then it got to a place where, I don't want my page to be like I think of it kind of like, a NASCAR vehicle with all these stickers all over it. Like I don't want my Instagram page to be like that. So I have to be very mindful and careful about the partnerships that I have and how frequently I post it If I'm getting paid, I'm way more likely to consistently post and share um, your products. And so eventually they did start paying me because I was just like, look, I because it was more frequent. Like they were wanting more and more content from me, and I'm like, I love the product. I'd love to keep working with you guys, but like to keep my page from being like a big sponsorship page, like would you guys be willing to pay me per post? And they were. So yeah, it's important to negotiate because I mean also like if you think about it, you're putting time into making this content for people. Like you deserve more than just free product. Like these companies, it almost costs them nothing to create their products. And like you deserve to be paid for your time, especially if you have a big audience too. Um, and I think that matters, you know, and I feel and you're gonna make better quality content if you're getting paid. But yeah, I guess all that to say absolutely negotiate and ask for what you want. Like you definitely encouraged me to start doing that. To like if you want something, just ask for it.
Yeah, I think people are afraid of like offending people. Like, oh, I want $500 for this, and they're like, oh no, that's outside of our budget. You've upset me. And it's like they're not gonna get upset. Like if they really want to work with you, and you say, hey, it's $500 for real, they'll either say yes or they'll be like, oh my god, like I really want to work with you, but like our budget's capped out for this month at 250. Or they'll be honest, like, hey, look, dude, I'm a startup. Literally all my money goes into this. I'm already in debt. Like I can send you all the free product you want, but like I can't pay you right now. And then you get to make a judgment call. Is this somebody I want to try and build a partnership with? Is there another way, maybe really high percentage affiliate sales? Like that's something I have done in the past with smaller companies. It almost is like, hey, you make a good vegan product. I want to support you. I understand you can't really financially pay me right now. If I get a better offer, I'm gonna have to use that real estate for somebody else. But until then, I can help out a little bit. Um, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like these companies, I won't say that like their product costs them nothing to make. It depends on the company and like the IP, the time that they put in there. But if you look at it from a company perspective, are they going to spend $250 in ads to hit 300 people? Or could they give $250 to an influencer that spent years building their page and has a loyal following? Either way, they got to spend the money to grow their product. So it's like, for me, I'd rather get paid and help you guys versus you just throwing out ads to random people. So, um, yeah, either way, sponsors, yes, you can get paid for products. Literally anybody can. Like, accounts under 1,000 followers get paid for a post. And it's like, if you make good content and they can repurpose it. I even just had somebody else reach out today about, I forget the name of the company, but they basically send out free vegan meals to people in need. And they're like, if you can just shoot some content, we're gonna run ads behind it. Like you don't even have to put it on your page. I'm like, I actually want to put this on my page, but like, there are other ways to get stuff out. But yeah, negotiate for what you're worth. Negotiate for more than what you think you're worth and get surprised. That's what I always tell myself. Like,
Yeah.
ask for a number that would surprise you if they say yes, and more often than not, I'm surprised. Um, all right, last one, and I think this is important for literally anyone trying to run a business, especially if you're self-employed. And I'm still working on this, so I'm excited to see what Brooke has. But it's how to have time off and avoid burnout. Because I think we alluded to it earlier. Like I used to work a 9 to 5. I'd clock out. I would never think about that job again until it was 9 a.m. the next day. I'd go home and work on my own business from like 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. But like now that it's for me, I work with a lot of companies. I'm doing the Foodie Fest. We have the Academy, the podcast, my own YouTube channel. I work with Alex Nearest every single day. I don't know how he does it. Like it can be so hard to just like turn my phone over and walk away. So that can lead to burnout. That does lead to burnout. How do you take time off, Brooke? How do you avoid burnout? How have you, because you've been doing this a little bit longer than me, how do you still function?
Yeah, I have to just have hard boundaries with myself. And right now it's a little bit easier because I have a serious relationship and we live together, and it's like he's gone almost all day. Like he leaves the house at 5 a.m. He doesn't get home until like 6 p.m. And when he comes home, I make dinner for us. We eat dinner together. We watch a show. So like when he comes home, I pretty much like turn my phone off, I shut off, and I just work on being present. So that has really helped me a lot. And I do work a little bit on Saturday, but I take Sunday, I take the entire day off. And Julian taught me that too, though. I remember asking Julian, do you ever take time off? And he said, I take a half a day on Saturday, I take Saturday night off, and I take Sundays off, and then I'm right back to it on Monday. And I pretty much implemented that for myself. And, I mean, there were times, especially when I was single, when I would just work anyways. But um, yeah, I do get quickly burnt out just because, like we've said a million times, there's just so many different hats to wear when you run your own business and you juggle a lot of things. And then I also just feel like social media, you're exposing yourself to a lot of potential negativity, um, or anywhere, Reddit. Reddit's the worst, if I'm being
Be
honest.
be vegan on social media or put it on the side of your head. You'll get a lot of negativity wherever you go.
Yeah. So I feel like it's important to disconnect. And just like how everyone needs a social media break, I feel like we do too. Um, and I also think it's just important to prioritize yourself, because if you make yourself available to people 100% of the time, it's so easy to get burnt out. And you have to take care of yourself. So take a vacation, I feel like that's important. I've taken vacations, but I still worked. And it was this last vacation I went to Tulum where now I still worked. I have to put it out there, but I limited myself to an hour a day. And that's huge for me, because I'm
Yeah.
usually working 10 to 12 hours a day. So, um, you'll perform better, you'll have better ideas, you'll get less irritated with things. I get easily frustrated when I work too much and I haven't given myself any time off. um so I feel like it's important to keep you creative, keep you level-headed, less anxiety, less stress. Just
Yeah.
work it somewhere into your week.
I think having boundaries is huge. And like you've alluded to a few different ways you do it. Like for me, I try to get back to everybody within 24 hours. That's like my goal. And that's not always easy. I mean, I checked yesterday at like 5 p.m. I had already had 500 messages on WhatsApp. Now, some of those are for like the Foodie Fest and other things, but still 500 messages. Like that's a lot to get back to. Um, so what I'll do for me is like I'll try to work like I don't know, today's what? Thursday. So I'll try by my goal is by like midday Thursday to have everybody replied to from Wednesday. So then if I work some throughout the day, I can kind of get caught up through Thursday until I don't know, I'll clock out tonight at like 7 o'clock and be caught up on my messages till like 2 p.m. And then there's like that buffer. I can go to sleep and I can get started again tomorrow. That works relatively well. It's still a lot. I have made my weekends a little bit lighter. I don't take check-ins on the weekends anymore. And sometimes people are like, "Oh, so sorry. I was busy Friday, so here's my check-in Saturday morning." Like, I'll wait till Monday and be like, "Okay, here's your like check-in review." It's like I have to do that, not out of being a dick, but out of like I'll just not stop if I don't put some sort of boundary. And I
Yep.
also I'm like proud and disappointed at the same time. Allie and I were supposed to hang out for our anniversary, and she is notoriously bad about planning timing, and I should know this by now. She's like, yeah, we'll hang out at noon. I'm like, "Wait, you're gonna wake up, make breakfast, go to the gym, come back home, shower, and be ready to leave and have more food ready by noon? Like, there's no way that's gonna happen." And like, she didn't get back from the gym till like 1. I'm like, totally fine. Like, but I was so frustrated. And I asked myself, I said, all right, check yourself, dude. Why are you so frustrated right now? Like, why? Like, so what? It's extra 2 hours, but like you're gonna spend the whole rest of the day together? Why are you so frustrated? And I realized I'm not frustrated at her. I'm frustrated at myself that I knew I was gonna work every minute until she was free. And it's not her fault for being late that I won't set boundaries for myself. And so I realized, I'm actually frustrated with me. I'm frustrated that I don't know how to walk away yet. and that I've been using Allie as a tool to take time off. And that's not fair to her. She's not a tool. She's my partner. She's not a tool to take time off work. And so, like what if her car broke down, or like what if something else? Like, it's still a little bit on me to walk away from the work. And so I'm still working on it. This is still something figuring out as I go. I will say I will factor back to number one on this list of getting some help. Like, I'll be honest, I don't get on Instagram nearly as much because I have so much help with the posting and with things like that that I can focus on my clients. What I have to do, I won't outsource my clients, but I can outsource an Instagram reel. Um, and that's been helpful, but still, like you said, like I had tried to take Sundays off for a while, and then I just got back into, I have a whole day that I can work, and I know it's not sustainable. So I am last thing, and then I'll sign off. We're leaving Arizona in a couple weeks. I am going to have a little bit of time off from the gym. I'm going to cut myself down to Monday, Wednesday, Friday for about 1 hour. I think an hour for lifting, and then I want to schedule 15 minutes for stretching after, because I never stretch. So I think if I force myself to work out for an hour, but give myself an extra 15 minutes to do whatever I want, I'll stretch with that. And like, let's see what I can maintain on that. And that'll give me a little bit of balance back in my life. Because right now I'm still training 5 days a week, at least 2 hours a day in the gym lifting. Plus, if I go to the sauna or if I do cardio. So finding some other ways to get some time back. But yeah, if you're starting a business, I highly recommend that you build this in. Build it in at the start, because it is a lot harder to go down to 6 days a week if you're used to 7. So,
Yeah, definitely.
well, I think this is valuable. I think if I had listened to this back in 2020 and actually listened and applied what we just said, I'd be in a much better spot right now. So that's the whole goal for me, at
Yeah.
least, the podcast, trying to help some people. Um, anything else?
The last thing I'll add is if no one gathered this already, if you're struggling and you need help and you also want to be as successful as possible, hire help. Hire help. Put it on a credit card like I did and invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. That is the best thing that I've ever done. A lot of people give me a lot of credit for where I'm at. And, yes, some of it's, I feel like, warranted, but I've also invested probably over 20 grand into my business and my success. And I didn't make it all back right away, but I eventually made it back. And I feel like you have to take risk and you have to invest in yourself. You can't be afraid to spend money. You can't be afraid to take a risk. You can't be afraid to put yourself out there. Um, Talk to the camera. You just got to do it. You just got to do these things. And yeah, hire help. Join our academy.
If you're wanting to coach, I sincerely think, all right, this is what we're good at. If you're trying to be a tattoo artist, maybe a different academy, but like,
Yeah.
we're still really good for the social media side. I wanted to add a caveat to that. Maybe you are afraid to speak into the camera. I was. Maybe you're afraid to post about your life. I was. Maybe you're afraid to quit your full-time job. I was. But be afraid and do it anyways. I think that's what separates us. There's not a day, and people forget this. There's not a day I don't show up to the gym and feel a little bit afraid that I'm too small or that, I'm not good enough that day. But I show up. Just keep showing up. That's what'll set you apart, because other people get afraid and they stop. But if you still show up, even if you're afraid, you're going to be successful. No doubt. So,
Yeah.
on that note, thank you guys for listening. It's been I think, a great episode of the Vegans Who Live podcast. If you can share this with just one person, it will help us grow. Really appreciate it. And with that, we're going to sign off and wish you the best day ever. See you next time.